Welcome once again to a new episode of New Game Plus. We are a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game, and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name's Kenny.
And I'm Nolan.
And this is episode 29, Lion King. And so a defining question to start this glorious podcast, and this is a very, very important question. What is your favorite classic Disney movie? So this could be Pinocchio, Snow White, Aladdin. I mean, it could be any of those kind of classic Disney animated films.
That's a really hard question.
Yeah, but one that you've thought of.
I'm gonna say that at least like as a kid, that my favorite was Aladdin.
Okay, did something change as you grew up?
Oh, I became less decisive.
That's the only difference, yeah. I mean, you've had this conversation before, right? I feel like this is a typical...
I've had it many times, but I suck at answering it. It's not like I super love Disney movies. I just can't think of them.
I also really liked The Sword and the Stone.
That's Disney?
Yeah, pretty sure. Like old school Disney.
I think it might be.
I think my favorite was The Jungle Book.
Oh, that's a great answer.
And you know they're releasing a live action.
I'm super pumped.
Yeah, recently heard that. I liked the old live action.
Oh, they did a good job with it for sure. But I'm pumped for a remake.
I watched this one too, yeah. What about you, Dustin?
My favorite classic Disney movie, and this is not just coincidence. This is absolutely true. I've always answered it this way. My favorite classic Disney movie has always been and will always be Lion King.
What? Why?
I think it's a masterpiece. I really do. I think it's got a gripping. I think it's got a gripping story. It's got a ridiculous soundtrack, by the way. Beautifully illustrated.
It really is such a good movie.
It was their pinnacle of around that. I think still though, it's probably their greatest achievement. Even though it's not my favorite, but
that pre-Pixar era before animation and how it works sort of changes, it was definitely the classic. I was talking to somebody the other day about Disney movies, and they said that they didn't actually really kind of like Lion King, and so I haven't talked to that person. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wise of you.
Well,
but I think
were we counting Pixar? Is that Disney?
No, it is Disney, but that's not classic anymore.
Because my answer is definitely changing if it is. But
no, I think
Bugs
that's a different era for sure.
Bugs Life, no.
Toy Story,
yeah.
Yeah, Toy Story is incredible, but I would say that's no longer classic Disney.
Okay.
Well, now that we've all announced our favorite Disney movies, and mine happens to be Lion King, and we played that game this week, let's take that coincidence and let's talk about the video game Lion King.
Overview.
So, Lion King is based on the Disney movie Lion King. What? Yeah, it is.
I didn't catch that this whole time.
I know. It's, well, there you have it. It's true. It came out in 1994 for the Super Nintendo and for the Sega Genesis. And it's been ported a couple times. There's one on Game Boy. There's even one on the original Nintendo Entertainment System. But I believe that was only in Europe. But had a couple of other ports. The two main big ones were the SNES and the Genesis, which is the case for a lot of games.
Was this an after-the-fact release or a concurrent release, or how did that work with the timing?
I believe that this one was after the movie, which is different. And we're going to have to make a lot of comparisons this episode to our previous game, because we played two movie games back to back.
Yeah, sorry guys.
And so last week we played Home Alone 2, which was released before the movie. But can you imagine if that was true for the Lion King video game?
Yeah, they were smart to wait on this one. So it came out after the movie, luckily, because you're going to get some spoilers if not.
Well, yeah, the entire movie.
Pretty big spoilers. Yeah. So after the movie in 1994 again, and it's a platformer. It loosely follows the events of the movie. You know, you don't get the entire story, obviously, because it's a little snippet, and also it's an older game, so they couldn't fit everything.
Sure.
So it follows the story loosely, and then you make your way through recognizable levels and from the movie, you're just platforming through trees with animals, and you go through a couple of like really big scenes from the movie, like big points from the movie. They have levels in the game, so it's a platformer, and it was developed by Westwood Entertainment and published by Virgin. So big name company was backing up this game, and I didn't realize that Virgin published it, but yeah, it was really successful, and I guess they had good like marketing for it. But also, Lion King was a huge deal when it came out, so this game was also a huge deal, and that's Lion King.
They totally did it right in the like letting your movie speak for itself, and then like letting your game supplement that instead of trying to like hype a movie by like also releasing a game beforehand or at the same time. Like you can feel the difference for sure.
One of the cool things about this video game is that like it had the full support of Disney, the creator. I mean, obviously not Disney himself, Disney, the company, the creator,
right.
Because and Home Alone 2, I don't know if that was the case, at least it didn't feel that way, but in this, the sprites and the backgrounds were drawn by Disney animators themselves.
Mm-hmm. So
like,
they had a hand in the actual development of the game.
That's super cool.
That never happens.
And not surprising when you look at it, because visually it feels like Lion King, and visually it's just really pretty.
And one of our complaints about Home Alone 2 is that it didn't have, some of the main themes and some of the songs. Well, in Lion King, the music was adapted directly from the movie's songs. So you get some of that same emotion that comes from the movie, especially if you've seen the movie. So like when the video game plays the song This Land, I just weep. I mean, not really, but I like it's emotionally moving. I mean, when Be Prepared, the song comes on, and it terrified me as a kid, it still causes me a little anxiety nowadays when I'm playing the Lion King video game. So like those same songs that so many people have so much attachment to from the movie translates so perfectly to this video game.
See, I felt like though the like knowing all of those songs definitely added atmosphere and immediately put me like in location and emotionally hooked me. I felt like I struggled with it a little bit because I know that music so well and it's big and epic that like simplifying it down to a like 8 or 16-bit MIDI style version of that song, and then obviously just playing it on repeat a million times because that's how platforming works. I actually had moments where I was kind of struggling with it. Like, this is actually hurting my view of the actual songs as opposed to like adding to the enjoyment because it was the songs. Still an overall great choice, but
I feel like they were so close though to the original. Like I didn't notice the 16-bitness of it.
They were accurate, and it was certain songs that I had a harder time with than others. Some of them I was like perfectly immersed, but one or two of them, and again, part of it was just the repetition of it. But a few of them, I just felt like it kind of bothered me. And this may be a me personally thing. It's definitely not a like they did it poorly thing. It was just a how I reacted to it issue.
Gameplay.
So The Lion King has 10 stages, everything from the Pride Lands and the Elephant Graveyard, which are iconic movie settings, to a whole stage set around the Hakuna Matata, and then you've got obviously the great conclusion at Pride Rock. And just like the movie, this video game about halfway through switches from young Simba, young cub, to adult Simba.
Yeah,
and
so good.
I absolutely love how that changes the gameplay because you, as young Simba, you have a little cat's, meow as your roar, and you can roll forward as your attack and pounce on things. That's about it. But as adult Simba, you can roar a real lion's roar, and you can swipe a paw swipe,
and then
attack.
Like a crouched paw swipe.
Oh, you can. Well, when you pounce on people at this point in the game, it pins them down, and then you can swipe at them. Like that's exceptionally cool that it changes like that.
Yeah, I agree. Like, The attention to detail is ridiculous because also in the game, when you're jumping around to platforms, you can grab the side of it and then Simba will pull his way up. And then when you grow up, that same mechanic is there, but he struggles more because he's heavier. So like they actually made that animation look like he's struggling more, and it's just crazy that they paid that much attention to detail and give you new mechanics. Like
you said it wrong though, Dustin. You should have said that mechanic is cool.
There are 2 meters that that are used.
You guys didn't get like.
Yes, I get it. That is Jonathan Taylor Thomas as young Simba in the video game The Lion King, saying cool every time that he collects a bug. A bug, is that what it is?
Yeah.
All right, so there are 2 meters that one represents your health and one represents your roar. Very simple. And there are bugs that are scattered throughout the stage that you can collect, and they can either restore Simba's health and restore Simba's roar meter, but you can also collect certain bugs that lengthen these meters, so give you a greater roar or allow you to roar twice, or just give you more health so you don't die as easily. Because like most of these older games, this is a more difficult game where you are sure to die.
Yeah, luckily they give you checkpoints though.
Yes, which helps a ton.
Yeah,
but not like today. Today you can save pretty much at any time in video games, and you've got multiple checkpoints. You're going to get 1 checkpoint each level, and it's going to be either halfway or a little past halfway.
Right.
They are kind, and they do provide it right before like very strenuous parts, along with, I noticed specifically on the second stage, one section you're prone to fall in the water, but they have a one of those save spots, or not save spots, but whatever that's called, and then right before you make that leap, which inevitably misses and plunges you deep into the water, they've got a 1-up there as well. So they kind of work with you and allow you to have some grace, here and there.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. There's some games that are hard and feel punishing, and then there's some games that are just like difficult, but it feels natural and rewarding. And this fell into the latter category for me, for sure.
I'm sure you guys played at least one time, right? Some of the bonus levels?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that's like after the second or third stage.
With the bugs?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the bonus levels can be after each and every stage. It's
okay.
based on finding a hidden bug in the stage.
Gotcha. Yeah, I consistently got it after the first level, because that's probably the easiest one to find all the hidden stuff.
Right.
But less so later in the game.
Yeah, so you've got 2 bonus stages, and I don't know how it decides which one you do, but you've got a Timon bonus stage, and you've got a Pumbaa bonus stage. So for Timon, you hunt for bugs and you avoid spiders. Simple as that, and you've got a time limit. And for Pumbaa, you collect falling bugs, and I found out late into my playthrough that you can actually belch, which freezes the bugs for just a little bit so you can collect them.
Oh, that would have made things so much easier.
Yeah.
Like, so many times I did the Pumbaa mini game, and it was like, collected 1 bug, collected 3 bugs. Like, I was really bad at that game. It was hard.
It's a nice touch, though.
Yeah, it's a nice touch, and it's a great way for them to not make this game too punishing to where you want to where you do quit. I mean, you might want to quit, but in those bonus stages, you can very easily collect 1-ups and restarts after your life is completely depleted and your 1-ups are completely depleted. Then you can kind of restart with some of those, and so you can collect a lot of those in the bonus
and
stages.
A really, really good way of putting Timon and Pumbaa in the game, because like they don't fit in the story narrative. It would have worked difficult. You couldn't have swapped and played them. And so them being a bonus and yet still getting time, like, is so accurate to the to the movie and their importance.
I thought you would see them when you go to like that stage, that has the music.
Right. Hakuna Matata.
Yeah. And you don't see them, so yeah, it was nice that they at least threw them in there somehow and in a fun way. Like it fit in the game. It wasn't like an annoying mini game or something that's tedious, but it was it had purpose. I also really like that this game is different in the sense of like where you're going in the stage. So as a platformer, you're typically going from left to right, and that's just a underlying rule. Like if you play video games, like that's just what you do. You go to the right. But in some cases in this game, you have to like backtrack or go left is the end of one of the stages, to go like to the right a little bit and then left. And I thought that was cool that it wasn't just, completely linear, but you had to like figure out,
Absolutely.
how to get to the next area. And in some cases it's like having monkeys throw you and getting the right pattern and stuff like that. So that was really cool, having to go back in the stage or not have to always go right. I thought that added like an extra layer of difficulty.
It made it really unique as well, just like every level felt different, because you were interacting with the world in different ways. It all felt
it wasn't just
similar. It felt familiar, and like you're clearly platforming, but like sometimes you're breaking vines and having to move boulders to progress. Sometimes you're, solving monkey puzzles. Sometimes, you know what I mean? And so every level felt unique and accurate to like what that level was trying to be and what that part of the movie was. And they did a really good job of fitting the mechanics of the levels into the feel of the story.
Yeah, and again, the attention to detail is so awesome.
Oh, like crazy good.
The elephant graveyard stage, the bones that you walk on, like the spines, they will like collapse. They'll shake and collapse and fall, and like that's the only stage that does, something like that. And so it definitely doesn't feel like just a reskin of an environment on each stage, but you have to actually interact with it and figure it out. It's awesome.
Hey, so we're talking about all these stages. What was your favorite stage? I'll just start with mine while y'all think about it, because the second stage is my favorite. I think it's the most difficult stage. Like, as a kid, I remember playing it and getting stuck multiple times, getting frustrated, quitting, and coming back to it at a later time. I think this is a notoriously difficult stage, especially for the second one. I've read by multiple people that it was created by Satan himself, but it's the Can't Wait to Be King stage. Mm-hmm. So that song is playing in the background, which is one of my favorites, and it's got so many different elements to it.
Riding those animals.
So you ride an ostrich, and you have to jump, duck, and double jump at certain times to get through those sections. And then you've got the elephant tail swings, and then you've got the monkey swings, which there are certain colored monkeys that you have to roar at, and they change their positions, and so it's kind of a puzzle to try to get them to swing you the right direction and the right way, and so it's very difficult, and there's a lot to this stage, but for me it was so much fun.
Yeah, that took me way too long, the little monkey section where
it's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. I stayed on that a long time. I think my favorite was the elephant graveyard, just because it looks so good.
So good.
Yeah,
like,
it
the design is great.
Perfectly.
And just the music and the enemies and like the way you interact with the bones and everything, it's so good. That's my favorite stage.
I hate those vultures.
Oh gosh, they're so annoying. They swing in the most awkward pattern, and it's hard to dodge.
I feel like those like swoopy down creatures in any games that have them always give me fits.
Kenny, what's yours?
I hate to not be original, but I've got to say that second stage was my favorite as well. Like when I think about the like scene in the movie and him like putting all these animals together and like climbing that tower, and the vibe of it and the singing and the lightheartedness of it, like they didn't just nail the level, because they did, on it being puzzles and difficulty. They nailed like the tone of that perfectly.
Yeah.
And so that one for that reason was my favorite. Like it did the movie justice.
Yeah. And that's not to mention that's as far as you got in the game.
It's not true. This game wasn't like, it was difficult, but it wasn't like impossible by any means.
Yeah, so I played the game through with save states, as I normally do, but then I went back through because I wanted to try to figure out how hard the game actually was without save states.
Right.
And so, yeah, so I played through a second time without the use of save states, and it was much more difficult. It's not impossible, like I said, with the 1-ups and the bonus stages, but it is infuriating at times. But it's also completely rewarding when you get to the end and you conquer the ultimate enemy, throwing him off Pride Rock.
Some of those jumps are like, they take some skill, and I had to sit there for a while to be able to like make a certain jump, and I haven't had to do that in a long time with a game, and it took me back like to that frustration, but also that just how fun that is to eventually get it.
I can't tell you how many times I fell straight into the lava.
Oh, that stage is stressful.
Yeah, it is.
Now, before we talk about how it's aged, I've got to ask, did both of you beat the game, or how far did you get into the game?
Yeah, I was able to get all the way through it, though, again, had to, like, only with save states. I didn't beat it, like, as a purist. I always sort of play that through initially, but then I cheated like a cheater, and it was fine.
I know, you hate yourself when you do that.
I do.
I did the exact same thing. I had to use save states, and I typically do that for these just so I can get through it, so I can talk about it better. But yeah, I got to Pride Rock, threw that idiot off, and beat it.
Let's talk about how this game is aged.
Aged.
All right, can I just start by saying it aged so well because the graphics are insane. Insane. Like the best thing I've seen in a long time. They're still so good. I played the Genesis one, and
oh no, did you really?
Yeah, but so far, I haven't heard any differences. I feel like this is one of the few that are the same version, at least for the most part.
I think there are slight graphical differences, and maybe slight sound differences, but the game is the exact same.
Yeah, I don't remember saying cool every time I got a bug. It might have. That didn't click in my mind, so maybe that wasn't it. But the graphics are so good and look so much like the cartoon. It's kind of ridiculous how it still looks amazing. And another reason why this hasn't aged that much is because of the soundtrack. It's like the original soundtrack, not the whole game, but the ones that they add, the very recognizable ones, were so good, and it's like the best movie adaptation game ever.
It is really well done. I wonder, and I may go back and listen just because I'm curious, I do wonder if the Genesis being slightly more capable on the graphics, and I would assume audio front because of that, I wonder if it was slightly less like MIDI down versions of the songs, just because you were like, you're crazy, and maybe I am, but
no, that's possible. I need to go
Genesis,
look at it.
It really always does like just a cleaner, prettier, snazzier version of the same thing when there's ports. It just does.
Yeah,
I want to try to be well-rounded because I'm jaded when it comes to this game, and so I want to try to be honest, and I think it has aged some in that like the controls aren't as precise as nowadays, and I mean the difficulty level, like a lot of these earlier games, is spiked, but
you're just
graphically, musically,
something bad.
and the raw gaming experience, they haven't aged negatively at all. I mean, just a spectacularly created and aged game.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Definitely because it's not an easy game, not like impossibly hard again, but there's some frustration there, and I had a couple moments where I couldn't tell if I was dealing with like input lag because of playing the game emulated, or whether that was just the game. But I struggled with that a couple of times, like feeling like I totally made that jump and didn't, and that's always frustrating. But yes, overall, as a like video game work of art, it nailed what it was trying to be. It was creative, it was well done, challenging, and they did a really good job on it.
if anything, I feel like it improved over time because, like, okay, so at the time I played the game, I was a kid and, may not have noticed, wow, this game looks a lot like the cartoon. That's impressive. I probably just played it for what it was. Yeah, but now that I go back and play it, I'm so impressed that they were able to achieve that back then to make it seem so much like the cartoon.
Even if you don't notice that overtly, though, like that gets noticed just with how popular a game is. Like lots of people played this game, and it's just because it was a good game and a popular franchise, whatever. But Home Alone was a popular movie, and we saw how that game turned out.
You're right.
The final shell shock.
Guys, would you give this game your New Game Plus status? Would you encourage those listening to go back and play Lion King the video game?
I don't love giving these out for free, but I'm not giving it out for free. This is definitely one that I'm gonna say, and I'm sure our viewers could have guessed that from the way we hyped it up last week, and so that's the reason I don't want to just go play it. It's totally worth it. Like, even if you didn't have a connection to the movie, it's a good game and it looks so good, and it's definitely worth picking up and playing. I have it. I still have my copy, and I'm very honored to have the actual copy of the Sega version, even though I don't have my Sega anymore. Yes, this gets my New Game Silver approval.
See, Kenny, be careful and don't say anything stupid.
Oh no, I won't. I almost suffer from the opposite problem, because in my mind this game was so iconic and we did hype it and I was looking forward to it so hard. There were some moments that we were playing through it, mostly when I jumped off a Giraffe's head and fell into the water 42 times in a row, that I was like, nuh-uh, it's not gonna get it. But just isn't. You suck. But yeah, but in looking at this game as a whole and going back and really considering it and what went into it and the level design and everything about it, it totally gets my New Game Plus seal of approval. It gets it more hesitantly than it should, but those are all me issues, I think, because it's a good game.
I think for me, my answer. There are many movies that should never be made into video games, but they are. This is not one of them. Yeah. I think it works, and it works in every single way. Nothing seems forced. Each of the stages makes sense in light of the actual story. They're not stretching or reaching for anything. They don't have to create anything so that there is a video game. It just naturally flows, and it really feels that way.
Right. It's awesome. I forgot to mention earlier, but the voice acting is awesome. Why was the voice acting so good in this old game where the audio shouldn't be that good?
I don't know. And I couldn't even tell, and I don't even know if y'all know. Are the voices the actual voices from the movie?
I think they are.
I don't know. It sounded just.
You think they are?
I think they are. I don't know for certain, but when a couple of the super iconic voices and the stuff at the beginning and the end, you go, that's got to be.
Well then,
so
I doubt they re-recorded. I bet they just grabbed it from the movie, or from the original recording and just used it.
Possibly,
because Scar sounded just spot on.
But I mean, if they had enough collaboration to have their artists actually work on it, it's not a huge thing to bring in your actors and have them do a little voice work.
My point being that there's not any additional dialogue. There's not anything that's not in the movie.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's true.
Which I greatly respect. You didn't have to do anything different. You just had to give create a game in honor of the movie, and I think they did that so well.
Yeah.
I did read a rumor though, and I bet it's true, that Disney instructed developers to make this game hard enough that it couldn't be beaten in a rental period. Therefore, players would then have to buy the game.
That happened to me. I certainly didn't beat this game when I rented. I rented all the games, and
interesting. I would have never thought about that as a as a tactic. But when you think about the difficulty of this game versus the target demographic, it's a tough one.
Yeah, and also if that is true, that rumor, bravo to the developers for still making
Sure.
the game balanced enough that it's not ridiculous and not
Right.
fun. Like,
Yeah,
that's
beatable
crazy.
and fun, but not just punishing. Yeah,
Absolutely.
so good.
Some of our viewers contacted us this week and gave us their very own input, feedback, commentary over the game The Lion King. Dallas emailed us at ngppodcast@gmail.com. He said, "To me, it is by far one of the best Disney video games on the movie. I love how you start with Simba as a little lion cub and end up growing up and facing Scar in the end. Yeah, it might be a little difficult in the areas, but I had a lot of fun learning the controls and grinding out this game when I was young, and once you get a hang of it, I don't think it's that difficult. I absolutely loved the music. Not sure if I really need to expound on that because I have a feeling that will be the consensus. I enjoyed the challenges that every level had, but the level that I probably enjoyed the most was the Stampede. We didn't even talk about that.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
so
that
well
is
done.
such a great...
I do remember this being one of the levels that gave me the most fits growing up, but I have grown to love it. I definitely think that this game has great replay value and has aged well. I hope you all enjoyed this game as much as I did, and I have my fingers crossed that it is labeled New Game Plus certified. Bring on the next game."
Well, Dallas, you're in luck. We agree with you. That Stampede level, though, is the fear in Simba's face. It's so good. Ugh.
Eric sent us a message on Facebook. He said, "So after listening to your recent podcast and hearing the excitement in your voices over the game selection for the week, I found myself looking forward to giving Lion King a go. I played the SNES version. At first glance, it looked nice. It reminded me a little bit of the Aladdin game that I loved for the Genesis. I gave it a solid 30 minutes of playing time and might have given it more, but honestly, I just could not get into it. I must be the worst player at timing jumps, and this game absolutely highlights my deficiency. So needless to say, I didn't get very far into the game. Perhaps I shortchanged this title, but since there was no nostalgia tying me to this game, it was an easy breakup."
I totally agree on it reminding me of Aladdin.
Yeah, you said something about that.
I wonder if, and it's on our retro master list, I believe, but I wonder if Aladdin also had that full support of Disney. I wouldn't doubt it because that was another pretty iconic game.
Yeah, that one was popular. Maybe we'll see. I think it's on our list. I mean, hopefully we don't play it this next week because that'd be 3 movie games in a row. But I'm ready to play that one because I also love that game.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
But that is an interesting perspective on it that he had because, like, a lot of us do have ties to the movie, and so it's an instant. Of course, I'm gonna love this game, or I'm gonna play this game. So that just goes to show you, not everyone's gonna think it's great.
Stu Balls said that game was the balls and hard as nails. The level that always sticks in my mind was the one based around "I'm going to be a mighty king." It was well good.
Yes, it was.
Agreed, and that was level 2, the one that we discussed in depth, right?
Yeah, the Animal Kingdom stage where you ride everything.
Yeah. Holden emailed us at ngppodcast@gmail.com, and he said, "The game The Lion King was a blast to me. I had honestly never played this game before, but from the moment I picked it up, it was an instant classic. The game was difficult at times, but only enough to be challenging. However, my hat is off to whomever was able to beat the game without save states."
Well, that's you, Dustin.
Thank you, Holden. I will take your hat. Is that how it goes?
Yeah, you
Thanks
just
for
take
the
it off
free
his
hat,
head.
nerd.
No, he took it off, so I take it out of his hand.
Oh, that's fair.
It's an exchange.
And then finally, Serenity wrote us and said, "Press BARRY, so that's Barry, on the menu screen. Cheats, yo. All the cheats."
I'm skeptical. What does that do?
We've got to go. We've got to go try that right now.
Yeah, what does that do?
I don't know, but I promise you that I'm going to find out.
She's going to make us delete our System 32 files. Serenity, I'm on to you.
It's a really, really elaborate hack.
We will report back next week and let you know if BARRY on the menu screen of The Lion King does anything.
I do know there are cheats. I didn't know what they were or how to mess with them, but just I came across that anecdotally, and so I'm certain that it probably does.
It is time to anecdotally select our next game for our Retro Master list. And so I'm going to click the randomize button and we'll spin for the win. Our next New Game Plus game that we'll be playing for the next 7 days is entitled Mario Kart 64.
Nice.
Classic.
We got
Very
lucky.
fun.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. We need to play together if possible. I don't know how, but maybe there's a way.
So rev up your engines and throw your blue shell and let's play some Mario Kart 64.
No, blue shells are banned.
Huge thanks to all of you that have listened this far into this particular episode. That means you actually like us and you care about what we're doing. So we really, really appreciate that. Whatever you are listening to us on right now, click the subscribe button if you have not yet. Make sure to rate and review us. That would help us tremendously, and other people would be able to find out about us. Guys, anything before we sign off?
Play Mario Kart with us and share with us your frustrations, because you're gonna have some.
Kenny?
I got nothing.
All right, I'm going to be a mighty king, so enemies beware. Until then, I'm still Dustin.
I'm still laughing at all of your terrible things.
I'm Nolan.
And this has been New
Game
Plus.